All right, everyone. It's now being openly alluded to that Trump is fiddling around with like the features of Obamacare in order to sort of cripple it, make it even more non-working, so that Congress has to act to fix it. Now, on the one hand, I think it's a noble effort because Obamacare is dumb. Like, either move to a more centralized system, directly subsidize it, and slash something else in government to pay it so you don't need more taxes. I've suggested that if you wanted something approximating single payer, that's the only way to do it. You pay for it with taxes, our economy collapses. I'm sorry, but we're already taxed up the ass as is. It doesn't matter what else you cut to pay for it. You could directly subsidize it, though, and it would be cheaper. The other possibility is deregulating healthcare. That is, not only repeal Obamacare and not really replace it, but repeal a bunch of other regulations, get rid of the monopolistic grant structure that we use for pharma companies, get rid of their ability to donate to political campaigns, just declare them you're part of the public health apparatus. You're no longer allowed to mix with government. Just like we won't have church and state mixing, we're not going to have pharma and state mixing either. And you could probably pull it off. They try to sue. Maybe that'd get Congress to act on the idea of voting, or that corporations are people and have the right to form super PACs with unlimited funding in order to meddle in our political structure. Trump's the only one that would push the issue because most of his donations were small donation and self-funding. So there's always a vague hope that he will, less and less over time, but a vague hope that he might plunge himself into such a thing. But I don't think it'll work. And therein lies the problem. Because despite Trump's best efforts, Obamacare was over time declining anyway. Companies were pulling out of it. States were like, what the fuck? They had to throw more and more money at it. It's not really a solvent concept. And Obamacare now, Trump's also declaring is dead. Like, you shouldn't even talk about it because Obamacare itself, because healthcare has been tinkered with now by the Trump admin, no longer fundamentally exists. It's no longer really Obamacare. While I think that's noble, and I think the argument can be made that Trump is being brave by actually having the balls to step in and deliberately weaken a heavy-handed, burdensome, semi-unconstitutional government program, that they only got around that argument by declaring it a tax. We all remember this, with the Chief Justice at the time, Roberts, being the swing vote, which was the funniest part. I don't think it works. I think Congress is too strangulated. I think that, the Democrats obviously won't support any form of reform unless it's in the direction of single payer. Oddly enough, if Trump wanted to go in that direction, he could get like the Sanders and Warrenites on board. He could probably do whatever he wanted. He could probably fix healthcare. The problem is, at the same time, it would have to be part of something that slashes apart one or more other government agencies' spending in some way. Now, Trump's sitting there, he's doing the same thing that Bush did. And I'm going to be honest here, I'm not happy about it. Trump right now is talking about welfare reform. Oh, he's cut some of the welfare programs, some of the waste, fraud, and abuse, and, the excessive spending. You're looking at a lake and you're fixating upon a puddle. Waste, fraud, and abuse within the welfare structure of this country pales in comparison to simply spending on federal programs that themselves, the bureaus themselves. They're too large. Therefore, they're inefficient. There's a lot of overlap. Half of these positions don't need to actually exist. And that has nothing to do with directly spending on people, like a SNAP program. What do you need to administer a SNAP program? Do you need tens of thousands of fucking people to administer a little card that gives you a certain amount of money? No, you don't. You don't need tens of thousands of people to do that. Most of those jobs can be fed into a computer. You could have nothing but computers for employees. Just pay for the electricity. Subsidize some solar panels, you're all set. Your employees now work for free for the next 20 years. You don't need these government positions to be filled. You could streamline them so much, that would cut so much more from the budget than going directly after, they're going to reduce the SNAP benefits by 5%. Oh, what's that going to accomplish, Mr. Trump? Okay, you saved a few tens of millions of dollars. That's wonderful. You could have saved hundreds of millions or maybe billions of dollars by cutting a very small number of employee positions within the same bureau, but I doubt that Trump will do that. He'll make these groups make do with less, but it won't be, the employees aren't going to get fired. They won't be firing anyone. Trump should mandate, if you want the same budget to actually dispense to people, you have to fire half of your workers and streamline things. Oh, and you could accomplish that. It'd be so much better. On Obamacare, though, if he goes in the more left-leaning direction, which he might do, he did allude to aspects of it as a candidate. And remember, he's a New York business Democrat. He's not a far-right Republican. Now we've got tales that he jokes about Mike Pence being religious. I actually believe that report. For the first time, we got a legacy media report with an unnamed source that I kind of believe. I can imagine Trump saying, "Oh yeah, don't talk to Mike Pence about homosexuality because he wants to hang them all." I can imagine Mike Pence in private saying something to that effect, and I can believe that Trump would take great delight in knowing that the VP was a total homophobe. Now, I think that's true because Trump's not religious, of course. Okay, semi or a little bit religious, kind of a marginal Christian. He's not some far-righter on those issues. Or abortion. Apparently he joked about that too. I just don't think that tinkering with Obamacare to weaken it, faster than it would already weaken anyway is really going to get Congress to act. I can't see them touching the issue. Because the Democrats he'd have to work with will never accept any form of cuts to go to the left. They also won't accept anything that swings it to the right. The Never-Trumpers don't want to touch it. The Mitch McConnells don't want to touch the issue. How exactly do you have the legislative capability of doing anything about it? You can collapse the program altogether and just start directly subsidizing. Okay, maybe you save money if you get more competition into the system, drive the cost down a little, and then directly subsidize things more. You've lowered the cost of it. And it's no longer technically Obamacare. The structure is different, but it's just a patch. That's all it is. Again, kicking the can down the road, and I don't understand. Trump needs to focus right now on taxes and the size of government. If you can shave a shit ton of these bureaus off, get rid of some, compact the rest, get rid of some of that overlap, make them more efficient, downsize those that are necessary where you can, raise the efficiency there, deny them the things they don't technically need. If you can do all that, you'd save so much money. So much money. You don't have to touch welfare. You can lower taxes drastically on basically every rung of society. The rich pay less, the poor pay nothing, and you'd still be solvent. Then you can take care of the deficit problem too that Trump mysteriously no longer seems to care about. I care about it. I'm not going to think too much at the end of the day about it because it's clear nobody in D.C. does. It's a lost cause almost. And some of it's alarmism, but come on. You can't keep doing that for the rest of eternity. Your gross style of economics will eventually collapse our economy. When it does, thankfully it'll drag most of the world down with us, which means that you can have a global reset, though. That's probably the point. I guess they're like, well, if we just collapse everything, it's not really going to matter because we're all miserable together and things maybe they spring back faster because then people are like, oh, well, we can just zero everything out and go back to just regular economics. Maybe that's the point. Obamacare, though, is extremely expensive. It doesn't bring quality healthcare to anybody, really. It gives shitty-ass healthcare subsidized on the backs of people that used to have better plans they could afford, now they can't afford them. Or they can afford a plan, but it's a shittier plan. Or they have to pay more to get the same plan they had before or a little extra coverage. People pay for shit they don't need, that they'll never use. I have to pay the sex change surgery fee here, even though I'm not having a sex change. I have to pay for things that I don't use. Fundamentally, there's a reason why nobody young was signing up for Obamacare. There's a reason that we didn't want to be burdened with it, bothered with it. I don't have health care. I'm glad not to. Until it's sorted out, I don't want to gain health care. My health care is, hey, I just quit smoking, I'm eating right, getting some exercise, try to live a low-stress lifestyle. I should be good until I'm at least in my 50s. Probably my 60s. Okay, that's fine with me. After that, I don't care if I keel over. I don't care if I have a massive coronary. I don't care if I'm like Tom Petty and I'm just walking through my fucking living room, keel over the back of the couch because my heart stops. I'm not going to care. I'm going to be dead. That's the way I think about healthcare. Really, the stress from trying to deal with government co-opted healthcare is going to kill you faster than not having healthcare in a lot of cases. Honestly, just change your lifestyle. Heavy drinker? Okay, well, cut down. You're a smoker? Quit smoking. You're eating shit for dinner? Don't eat shit for dinner. Are you totally inactive? Well, get some exercise. There, you solved a lot of problems right there. A lot of the health complications you could suffer from, you've just drastically reduced the likelihood of suffering from them. Another problem is it's really difficult for us to subsidize a healthcare system like we've got under Obamacare when we have like legendary levels of obesity. We have legendary levels of people scarfing down cheap, shitty food because they can't afford decent food. There's your problem right there. There's your real public health crisis. There it is. It could even be worse. It could be like back in the 70s where 50% of the population was drunk and smoking on a constant basis. Could be worse. It's getting slightly better on that end. Way, way worse on obesity. It doesn't help that we spray all our food with chemicals that probably cause cancer. I'm just going to put that one out there. Not going full homeopath on you, but can you see how that could be a fucking problem? It's like that genetic modification so that the plant will create its own Roundup. And so it's perfectly safe. Okay, it's creating basically a chemical that you otherwise would not be allowed to put in people's food. Like, you wash it off. You're washing the crops, getting rid of that shit once they've been harvested. Because it's bad for people. So you've created a vegetable that creates the same chemical internally so it can't be washed off. Wonderful. Yeah, it's a great idea. Now, I think we have real problems in this country with healthcare. We also have real problems with health. That's about all. Peace out.